Luxury fashion is boring at the moment. And this is something that there's a couple of factors involved as to why we're seeing this. But I saw something over the weekend that maybe sparked something inside of me that was like, you've got to make this video. And that just may have been Sean McGirr's debut at Alexander McQueen. Now listen, I can't even begin to imagine the pressure, right? How hard that must be to fill those shoes. And especially because Alexander McQueen and his collections and all of that are the reason why a lot of people fell in love with fashion, discovered fashion. This is a legacy with a capital L to continue, even following Sarah Burton being there for the past sort of decade or so. His collection sparked up a lot of conversation online, a lot of criticism online, and that in turn also finally forced me to make this video. Guys, if you're new home, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're gonna love it here, so head on there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. Now, in order to properly look into why we are currently experiencing the boringification of fashion, semantics, but we kind of need to look at trends as a whole, and the last few years have been crazy in terms of trends. If we take it back to 2020, the pandemic, lockdowns, all of that, we were focused on buying sweats and other sorts of varieties of loungewear that we can fester in while we're not allowed to leave the house. Following lockdown, oh my gosh, we got dopamine dressing. Arguably my favourite, okay? Because this is when people were like, I have not had the excuse to wear X, Y and Z. I don't need an excuse, I'm simply leaving the house. Let's turn things up a bit. Let's have happy colours, let's have fun and frivolousness, let's get the crystals out, let's get the sequins going. I don't care if it's not night time, I'm going to sparkle in the sunshine, okay? She's a rapper. And then we are brought to today. We've got a challenging financial climate and all of that. And with that has come sort of a recession core, as people are calling it. This is where the quiet luxury comes in, because people are buying less, but wanting to invest in those pieces that they're going to have for a long time. They're timeless, they're classic, they are trend proof, they're not something that in a year's time you're going to look back and go like, oh my gosh, that's so 2024, right? I see why people are doing this. Pieces that will stand the test of time, wardrobe workhorses. And generally, these pieces are simple. They tend to be in neutrals, right, so that you can match a lot of things with them. They don't tend to be all that fun and entertaining to look at, just being honest. Especially when it has become a trend, and so you're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing it on celebrities that never even used to dress like this and all of a sudden are. Cough, Jennifer Lawrence, cough. But it's like, it's such a widespread thing that it's not just somebody's style anymore, it is a trend. And because of that, oh my gosh, are my eyes tired. As life has, you know, returned back to as normal as it can do after lockdowns and all of that, people are going back into the office more. There's less of the work from home. So we're going back into that routine again where something like dopamine dressing and the fun stuff is being pushed to the side and people want practicality and cost per wear and things like that. Now, this obviously has a huge impact on how we're spending our money, on purchasing patterns. People aren't buying the fun stuff. So designers aren't really designing the fun stuff because those things have to go into production, and then what? They're just going to sit on the shelf or on the rail until it maybe goes into an outlet, and then it might just sit there and linger for longer. But it becomes this kind of vicious cycle of people are only buying a certain type, so the designers are only going to design a certain type or are going to sort of cater towards that so that it can sell. Joni Casanova on Instagram, I hope that I'm pronouncing their first name right, absolutely fabulous, obsessed with all of the looks, right? Very like maximalist and John Galliano and just a fantasy, obsessed. They posted a fantastic story over the weekend that was talking about, you know, like the reaction to Sean McGirr's debut for McQueen and basically sort of captured the same argument, which is, you know, I would love Lee's McQueen back. I literally play nightly that fashion will have more fantasy again. But the people who can afford it are not buying. And the people I know who are saving for it aren't buying the eccentric pieces either. So again, why even sort of bother if you're a designer and you're under pressures to sell by these big fashion houses? We're going to get back to that in a moment, by the way. I mean, listen, Schiaparelli was even thrown into the mix. I would say that this last season was their most kind of like wearable out of all of them, but look at one of the few fantasy houses within one season. Schiaparelli is taking a stark shift. As much as the brand gets the rightful gagging we give it every season, consumers are not buying. You've got the Row making 147 million in revenue, geez, Chanel with 17 billion, and Schiaparelli with 6 million. Granted, Schiaparelli is a much smaller fashion house compared to, maybe even compared to the Row. And we talk about it every season, we're so excited, we're like, oh my gosh, look at these, you know, amazing creations, and it's stuff that makes you dream again, it's stuff that makes you, like, you just know if you were to step in it, you would feel absolutely glorious, right? You'd feel like a goddess. An excellent point is being made here. Schiaparelli is beautiful and wearable, yet it is somehow too much fantasy for consumers, despite constant viral moments that should be driving the buy. I blame all of the "but where am I going to wear it" girls. And do you want to know what? I saw that last line and I was like, am I also guilty of the "but where am I going to wear it"? I also need to be feeding my fantasy a bit more of, like, if I see something so over the top and opulent, and obviously we're going to talk about the price bit in a second as well, and you know, it's within the realms financially, then why shouldn't I buy the over the top and all of that? And you make the situations, you wear it. Oh, you want to go for dinner with a friend? Why can't I wear a floor length dress to this? I shall. So I think we're all a little bit guilty of that, to be honest with you, and we'll need to feed the fantasy a bit more. Obviously, I should have sort of said this at the beginning, there are outliers in terms of brands. There are always brands that are going to do their own thing, are going to stay in their own lane, and it's the opulent, and it's the fantasy, and it's the fantastical, and it's the glorious, and it's the magic. But in general, from a lot of the big fashion houses, let's give it a bit of that, this is the trajectory that we've been seeing. Coming back to price, the pricing cannot be denied. As we are seeing all of the prices inch further and further and further up, and you look at a price tag, and then you have to do that whole thing with the SA where you're not absolutely horrified, and then you have to, like, sort of pretend that, you know, it's something that you're seriously considering. And you're like, oh, 5,000 for this very simple top. Oh, I'll have a think about that. We've all played that game, let's not lie. But, you know, as these prices are creeping up, it almost also comes to the point that, okay, if we're going to take ready-to-wear in general, right, like, this is, I mean, this whole topic is all-encompassing. We're talking bags, we're talking shoes and all of this. But if we talk about ready-to-wear, if you're now buying, or you're saving to buy a ready-to-wear piece, the price of something simple, and therefore classic and timeless and blah, 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 compared to something over the top, and it's got these embellishments and all this, you know, craftsmanship and all of that, that gap is quite huge. You're saving for two very different things there. So you can't also say all of this and discount the price aspect, because the price is also just becoming ridiculous. It has, I mean, we've crossed that point. We've crossed that a long time ago. The other thing that I wonder if this is a part of it is, you know how recently we've been seeing a sort of increase in people turning to vintage, giving vintage a go who haven't before, you know, hi, I'm a example of this. Maybe part of that is because people aren't also getting the excitement, the butterflies that they were from current fashion, and now are going into vintage to satiate that need of the excitement, of the unique, of the interesting. So I wonder if that's part of it as well. Just thought I'd throw that in there while we're here. Going back to the McQueen example, because this whole video was just basically like, I'm not even going to go into the ins and outs of how I felt about the collection. I might in a later video. Another thing that we're seeing is this chop and change of creative directors that then also doesn't help the brand because it loses its footing. All of these really big heritage fashion houses have codes and a history and and really great stories to tell. And as these creative directors get chopped and changed, and you're seeing the vision go so you know, in so many different directions every season, it gets hard for the customer to marry into a world of it and be like, okay, I know what the XYZ customer is. I know what a Rick Owens customer is. I know what a Schiaparelli girly is. And I know what this is, right? That bit gets lost. You know, a lot of these big brands aren't giving creative directors enough time to find their footing. I sit here and, you know, I'm like, the new Alexander McQueen show was really sad for me to see, but at the same time, if I was him, could I have done a better job? I've got no idea. London Girl in NYC, great fashion account to follow, by the way. She made another excellent point on her stories this weekend, and basically was, you know, like, nobody really is equipped to do this job, but here, he was given 3 months to come up with this collection. I'm not going to lie to you, if I was given 3 months to come up with a whole collection for a fashion house as established and well loved as this, would I have done a better job, you know? But are you even given a fighting chance as a creative director to come into this role if you've been given 3 months? Which then also makes you think here, she says, makes me wonder why he wasn't given the adequate time to approach this job. Why not have the design team create this season's collection instead of giving him 3 months, right? Fair enough. And then there was a part of me that was like, why even show in this calendar anyway? Like, why not just pull out from the calendar for this season, give everybody enough time to come up with something actually decent? And then I thought, no, Cassie, you're being too optimistic and away with the fairies and very Pisces-like with your thinking, because this is a business, and they can't have sodding last season's stuff rotting on the racks when you come in how many months' time to have a look and see what's new, right? They've got to put something out, even if it is mediocre. Something is better than nothing. Which sort of, you know, takes me back to very late nights, having procrastinated turning in an essay, doing it at 10 o'clock at night the day before, and hoping for the best when you know it's not good. And I don't want to sit here and be a Debbie Downer, even though that's sort of kind of what this whole video is. But it all comes down to all of these brands are part of huge conglomerates, your LVMH, your Kering, that are all trying to fight for the top spot. They're all trying to do their bit to clamber to the top. And again, this was a great thing that Amanda mentioned on her post. The issue isn't appointment being rooted in finding the right person. It's rooted in competition, more specifically finding Kering's version of Jonathan Anderson for Loewe. Jonathan's success at Loewe has spurred the higher-ups of this industry to find another him instead of finding a talent that is aligned to its respective house. Which again, there are many, many things in luxury fashion that we kind of sit and see as consumers or people who are interested in it and go, you know, they're not really sort of thinking in our interests. And again, it might be a way with the fairies of me thinking to, you know, sort of hope that somebody is. But at the end of the day, they're all bothered about making the most money, bringing in the next quote-unquote Jonathan Anderson for Loewe, even if they just want the same, even if they just want that under the name of McQueen, which as a kid, it's not really working out. But this also leads me back to a well-known quote, comparison is the thief of joy, and we are truly seeing it in action as we are robbed of joy because these houses are competing with each other, and instead of staying in everybody's lane. Do you want to know what? I've done like deep dives on the Row, I've done deep dives on Chrome Hearts, and one thing must be said, and that is a lot of success is to be seen when people stay in their own lane. Do what you're good at, stick to it, your time will come, as seen by the Row and Sodding Chrome Hearts, and it doesn't help you to keep chopping and changing who you are and all of that because of changing trends. And I wish some of these big conglomerates would know that, because Loewe is doing well because Loewe is also very much in its own lane. They're doing their thing. Why are you now trying to morph a McQueen into a Loewe? Why are we doing this? And by doing so, we are therefore being robbed of difference in fashion, of the beauty, of the magic, of everything now is a little bit watered down because everybody's trying to be the same thing. And it would be great, all of these brands would embrace the differences and the history of the brands and the codes so that we can finally have something exciting to look at. On the plus side, right, a lot of these fashion trends are cyclical. And hopefully we're coming to the end of whatever boringification of fashion it is that we're currently seeing, and hopefully, you know, little sparks of joy will start coming through, like the sun behind clouds. It's piercing through, the clouds are going to move. Oh my gosh, fashion's going to be fabulous again. I think we are sort of kind of getting there. I am also going to do a video that's on sort of like the best and worst of Fashion Week this last month, Fashion Month. And, you know, there's some hope in there. So it's not all doom and gloom, even though maybe this video sort of made it out to be. But anyway, let me know what you think. Maybe I just, you know, I sort of consume this stuff all the time, that I'm, you know, I'm just sort of plagued by it. I don't know, but let me know what you think. I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I will see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye guys.